The moment she said it, the world seemed to pause. My neighbor said, "Let me see the ring, it might even fit me." Her voice was playful, but something in her eyes made my heart skip. I had just picked up the engagement ring I'd been saving for months to buy. My hands were still shaking with excitement and nerves. I was planning to propose that very evening to the woman I loved more than anything. So when my neighbor reached out her hand and said those words, I hesitated for a second. Then I smiled and said, "Hold it for me, okay?" What happened next was something I never expected, a moment that would completely change how I understood kindness, trust, and the surprising goodness in people. But before we get into the story, if you love heartfelt stories that remind us how powerful kindness can be, make sure to subscribe to the channel, like this video, and share your thoughts in the comments. Here on Your Channel Name, we believe even the smallest act of kindness can change someone's life. Now, let me tell you what happened that day. It was a warm Saturday afternoon in early spring. The kind of day when the sun feels gentle on your skin and the world seems a little slower, a little softer. I had just returned from the jewelry store downtown, the small velvet box tucked carefully inside my jacket pocket. For 6 months, I had been saving every extra dollar I could. Skipping takeout. Working overtime. Saying no to things I wanted. All for that ring. Not because it was expensive, but because it represented a promise. A future. I was planning to propose to my girlfriend, Emma, that evening at the park where we had our first date. My heart was racing the entire walk back home. As I stepped into the driveway, I noticed my neighbor, Sarah, watering the flowers along the fence that separated our yards. Sarah had lived next door for about 2 years. She was friendly, always quick to smile, the kind of person who waved at everyone on the street. But we'd never really had long conversations, just small talk here and there. "Hey there," she called out when she saw me. "Hey, Sarah," I said, trying to act normal even though my mind was spinning with proposal plans. But maybe my excitement was showing more than I thought. She tilted her head and laughed. "Okay, what's going on?" she asked. "You look like someone who just won the lottery." I hesitated for a moment. Then I figured, why not? "I'm proposing tonight," I said. Her eyes widened instantly. "No way," she said, dropping the watering can onto the grass. "Are you serious?" I nodded and pulled the small red box out of my pocket. "I just picked up the ring." Sarah gasped like a kid seeing fireworks. "Can I see it?" she asked. I opened the box carefully. The diamond caught the sunlight, sparkling like a tiny star. "Oh wow," she whispered. "That's beautiful." Then she smiled mischievously and said the line I'll never forget. "Let me see the ring, it might even fit me." I laughed. "Go ahead," I said. But instead of sliding it on herself, she held it gently between her fingers, studying it for a moment. "Wow," she said again softly. And that's when I said something without thinking. "Hold it for me, okay?" She looked at me, slightly confused. "Hold it?" "Yeah," I said, smiling. "I've got to run inside and grab something before I head out. I don't want to risk dropping it." She nodded and carefully held the ring. "No problem." I jogged into the house, grabbed my phone charger and the small picnic basket I had prepared for the proposal. But when I came back outside about 2 minutes later, Sarah was gone. My heart instantly dropped into my stomach. The yard was empty. The ring was gone. For a moment, I just stood there frozen. My mind started racing with thoughts I didn't want to believe. Did she just take it? I looked up and down the street. Nothing. No sign of her. My chest tightened. My hands started shaking. That ring wasn't just jewelry, it was everything I had saved for months. And now it was gone. I walked back inside slowly, trying to think. Maybe she just went inside her house. Maybe she needed to grab something. Maybe. Just then, there was a knock at my door. When I opened it, Sarah was standing there. But she wasn't alone. Next to her stood Emma. My girlfriend. My brain completely froze. What's going on? I asked. Sarah smiled. Then she held out the ring box. Emma looked confused. Your neighbor came to my work, Emma said. She told me I needed to come home right away. I turned to Sarah. You knew? I asked. She nodded gently. I saw you practicing your speech in the yard last night, she said with a grin. Apparently, she had guessed exactly what I was planning. So you didn't take the ring, I said, half laughing, half still in shock. Of course not, she said. But I did think, maybe this moment deserved a little help. She placed the ring back into my hand. Then she turned to Emma and said something that made my chest tighten. He's been working really hard for this moment, she said softly. You should hear what he's been planning. Then she stepped back toward the sidewalk. Okay, she said with a smile. I'll leave you two alone. Before I could even process what had just happened, she walked back to her yard. Emma looked at me. I looked at Emma. And suddenly the words I had practiced 100 times disappeared from my mind. But sometimes the best moments don't need perfect speeches. So I took a deep breath, got down on one knee right there on the front porch, and opened the ring box. Emma, I said, my voice shaking, I love you more than anything in this world. And I want to spend every day of my life proving that to you. Tears filled her eyes instantly. Will you marry me? For a second, she just covered her mouth. Then she nodded quickly. Yes, she said. Yes, of course I will. When I slipped the ring onto her finger, it fit perfectly. And in that moment, the whole world felt lighter. Emma laughed through her tears. I can't believe our neighbor helped plan this, she said. I looked over toward Sarah's yard. She was pretending to trim her bushes, but I could see the huge smile on her face. Later that evening, Emma and I walked over to thank her. She waved it off like it was nothing. I just helped a little, she said. But the truth is, her small act of kindness turned a nervous proposal into a moment we'll never forget. Sometimes kindness doesn't look like grand gestures. Sometimes it's simply paying attention. Sometimes it's stepping in quietly to make someone else's moment better. And sometimes, it's trusting someone with something valuable, and discovering that most people are far kinder than we expect. That day taught me something important. The world can feel like a place where people look out only for themselves. But every now and then, someone reminds you that kindness still lives right next door. So if this story touched your heart, remember this. A small act of kindness can turn an ordinary moment into a lifelong memory. You never know whose story you might brighten today, with just a little care, a little trust, and a little kindness. And if you believe the world needs more moments like that, share this story with someone you care about. Because kindness spreads, one heart at a time.